You know, one of my favorite things is fresh, locally harvested fruit. And what's even better is when you can keep all those great flavors around all year with delicious homemade jams. So today I am going to show you an easy way to make and can strawberry jam. Canning only takes a few hours to complete. Now here's how it keeps food fresh. When food is exposed to air, it's also exposed to bacteria that can cause the food to spoil. But you can kill that bacteria with heat by boiling the food in a jar. Boiling also creates an airtight seal to prevent new bacteria from getting into the jar. This means your food will keep longer. You can find recipes, an equipment list, and printable instructions for this project at lowes.com/videos. I'm going to show you how to can strawberry jam, but you can preserve many different kinds of foods. You just want to keep in mind that different foods require different canning methods. So check your printable instructions for some suggestions. Now before you get started, you want to read through your recipe and then assemble all of the equipment and ingredients that you'll need. It's a good idea to examine your jars for nicks, cracks, uneven rims, or sharp edges that may prevent sealing or cause breakage. And also look at the canning lids to make sure that they're free of dents. The sealing compound should be even and complete. And finally, check the bands for proper fit. Now, wash the jars, lids, and bands in hot, soapy water, then rinse them well. Dry the bands, then set them aside. Heat your jars and lids in a saucepot of simmering water at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not boil the lids. Allow the jars and lids to remain in hot water until they're ready for use, removing them one at a time as needed. Fill your boiling water canner half full with hot water. Place the rack on the canner and put the canner lid in place. Heat the water to a simmer about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to keep the water hot until it's ready for processing. Now that the equipment is cleaned and our water is warming up, I can start making the jam. So to make this easy strawberry jam, I'm going to use fresh strawberries, pectin, lemon juice, and sugar. When you're making a jam, which is also referred to as a fruit spread or a soft spread, you want to be sure to use the freshest, highest quality fruit possible. So clean the fruit and let it dry thoroughly, or you can pat it dry with a paper towel. Next, remove the stems and any overripe or soft areas. Now, if there's mold on a strawberry, throw it away. Then, crush the strawberries a little bit at a time. A potato masher works really well for this step. Crushed strawberries should be a combination of fruit pulp and fruit juice. Now, over-crushing the strawberries may add too much liquid for the recipe to gel, so be careful. Once you finish mashing your strawberries, measure out the amount specified in the recipe in a glass measuring cup and then place them in a saucepan. Now, gradually stir in your powdered pectin and your lemon juice. Now don't alter the recipe ingredients, because if you do, it could prevent the jam from forming a gel. Also, use only the type of pectin specified in the recipe. Powdered, liquid, and no sugar needed pectins are not interchangeable, and the way you combine ingredients will vary by recipe. Bring the mixture to a full rolling boil, one that can't be stirred down, over high heat, stirring constantly. Now, add the sugar, stirring to dissolve. Return the mixture to a rolling boil and cook for the length of time called for in your recipe. Once the mixture has finished cooking, turn off the heat and remove the foam using a skimmer or slotted spoon. Now remove the canning jar from the hot water with a jar lifter and set it on the towel. Carefully ladle the hot jam into your hot jar, leaving a 1/4 inch of headspace. Next, wipe the rim and threads of the jar with a clean, damp cloth. Remove the jar lid from the hot water using a lid wand. Place the lid on the jar, centering the sealing compound on the rim. Then screw the band down evenly and firmly, just until it's fingertip tight. As you fill each jar, set it on the elevated rack in the boiling water canner. Now remember, this water should be kept at a simmer of 180 degrees Fahrenheit. After all the jars are filled and placed onto the rack, lower the rack into the canner. Now the water level must cover the 2-piece caps on the jars by 1 to 2 inches. You may have to add boiling water if necessary. Put the lid on the canner and bring the water to a boil. After the water has come to a boil, process for 10 minutes. After the jars have boiled long enough, turn off the heat and remove the canner lid. Now you want to let the canner cool for 5 minutes before removing the jars. When you take your jars out of the water, set them upright, 1 to 2 inches apart on a dry towel to cool. Do not try to retighten the bands. Let the jars cool for 12 to 24 hours. All right, after your jars have cooled, you want to check the lid for a secure seal. And the way you do this is just to press down gently on the center of the lid. So if the center of the lid is pulled down and it doesn't flex up and down, then you can remove the band and then just try to pull that lid off gently with your fingertips. If it doesn't come off easily and the center is pulled down, then you know that you have a good vacuum seal. If you don't have a good seal and it flexes like that, then you can safely reprocess that jar within 24 hours. Remove the lid and make sure the jar isn't damaged. If it is, replace the jar and the lid, then reprocess. Label your jars with the contents and a date, then store in a cool, dry, dark place. Your jam should last up to 1 year unopened. Now when you're ready to use your jam, you want to check the lid for tightness and a good vacuum seal. Now remember, if the center of the lid is pulled down, that means you have a good seal. Also, if the lid is bulging or leaking, then the jam is probably spoiled. When you open your jar, you want to hear a pop like this. Now check the food and the inside of the lid to see if there's any discoloration. And if there is, then you should throw the jam away. But if there isn't, if everything looks good and you had a good seal, then you're ready to serve. So if you'd like to learn how to can tomatoes or to see some other projects that you can do around your home, visit Lowes.com/videos.